My wife screamed, "If you give your sick mother one more penny, I'm leaving." I replied, "Understood." Then I wrote my mother a large check for her treatment, hired a divorce lawyer, and changed the locks. My wife was frantically banging on the door, suddenly very concerned about my mother's health. I am 45 male. My mother, Evelyn, 68, was diagnosed with a pretty aggressive form of cancer a few months back. It's been rough, emotionally and financially, as her insurance isn't covering a new experimental treatment that her doctors are optimistic about. It's expensive. I've been working extra hours, and my siblings are chipping in what they can. My wife, Madison, 42, has been increasingly agitated by the situation. It started with eye rolls whenever Mom's medical bills came up. Then came the passive-aggressive comments about, "How long is this going to go on? And we have our own future to think about, Bruce." Our future, meaning the kitchen renovation she's been obsessed with for the past year, featuring top-of-the-line Wolf appliances, a project for which she assumed funds would magically appear, despite my explanations about prioritizing Mom. Last night, it came to a head. I was on the phone with my mom's oncologist, confirming the details for the first large payment for the treatment, around $35,000. Madison overheard. After I hung up, her face was thunderous. "Madison, are you seriously going to give them that much money? $35,000? Bruce, that's our kitchen. That's the down payment for the new cabinetry I picked out." Her voice was already rising. "Me, Madison, this is my mother's life. The kitchen, which we haven't even budgeted for yet, can wait." I kept my voice even. Years of her escalating demands had taught me that much. "Madison." Her voice rose to a shriek. "I am sick of this. I am sick of your mother and her endless problems draining our resources. If you give your sick mother one more penny, I'm leaving. I mean it, Bruce. I'll pack my bags and go. You'll see." She clearly believed this was her trump card, the one that always made me back down. I looked at her, really looked at her, the woman I'd been married to for 12 years. And in that moment, the years of growing disillusionment, of her relentless self-absorption, just solidified into a cold, hard resolve. This wasn't a snap decision, I realize now. It was an overdue one. Me, calmly, understood. She scoffed, a smirk playing on her lips, already tasting victory. "Good. So you'll tell your mom you can't afford it?" Me, no. I understood that if I give my mother more money, you're leaving. I walked to my desk, opened my checkbook, and wrote a check to the oncology clinic for $35,000 from my personal inheritance account. An account that is solely mine, left to me by my grandparents. A fact I've had to reiterate to Madison multiple times when she's referred to it as our little nest egg. She watched, her smirk faltering slightly, replaced by a flicker of disbelief. Then I picked up my phone. First call, my mom. Told her the payment was being sent, that she shouldn't worry. The relief in her voice, that was everything. Second call, a divorce lawyer, Mr. Davies, whose name a colleague had given me a while back during a particularly bad patch with Madison. I'd hoped I'd never need it. I left a message requesting an urgent consultation, citing extreme circumstances. Third call, a 24-hour locksmith. Explained the situation briefly. They said they could come in the morning. Madison stood there, her expression shifting from disbelief to a dawning furious horror. What are you doing?" Me. "You said if I gave my mother another penny, you'd leave. I gave her considerably more than a penny. I'm just facilitating your stated intention." A small, weary part of me felt a sliver of pain for the marriage that was, but it was overshadowed by a profound sense of finality. I slept on the couch, a restless, charged sleep. This morning, Mr. Davies' office called back. He could see me mid-morning. While Madison was at her extended yoga class and smoothie session, a non-negotiable part of her schedule, the locksmith came. Locks changed. When Madison returned humming to herself, her key didn't work. I opened the door just enough to speak to her. Her face went from confused to indignant. "Bruce, what is this? I can't get in." "Me, you said you were leaving. I've acted accordingly. Mr. Davies, my lawyer, whom I've just retained, will be in touch with you or your legal counsel regarding the equitable distribution of marital assets and the supervised retrieval of your personal belongings." Madison, stunned silence for a beat. Then theatrically, You can't be serious. Bruce? My clothes are in there. My new skincare line. My juicer." The juicer, of course. You'll get your personal property through the proper legal channels. Then, as if a switch flipped, her voice became saccharine, dripping with a concern so fake it was almost comical. Madison. But, your mother? Evelyn, how is she? Is the treatment, is it going okay? I've been so worried. I just looked at her, the performance almost impressive in its audacity. She's as well as can be expected. Thank you for your sudden and transparent concern. Closed the door. The frantic banging started a few minutes later, along with a string of texts and calls. I haven't answered. My phone is now on silent, except for Mr. Davies. This is real, and despite the turmoil, there's an undeniable feeling that a heavy, suffocating weight is beginning to lift. Update 1. It's been just over a week since D-Day, Door Day. Thanks for the messages of support. It's helped to know I'm not navigating this entirely alone. Mr. Davies is as sharp as they say. During our first meeting, he was direct. He said my quick action was good, but warned that Madison's sense of entitlement would likely mean a fight. He immediately sent a formal retainer agreement to me, and once signed and returned, he began work. He also advised me on how to communicate with the bank regarding the joint household account, the one primarily funded by my salary but which Madison used for bills and her discretionary spending. Following his advice, I informed the bank in writing of the separation and pending divorce, requesting they flag the account for unusual activity and require dual authorization for any large withdrawals until a formal legal agreement or court order was in place. The banging on the door stopped after the first day, but the calls and texts from Madison, her sister Brittany, and even her mom, Frances, were relentless for a few days. Brittany, Madison's older sister, always quick to defend Madison's worst impulses. Bruce, Madison is a wreck. You can't just throw her out like yesterday's trash. It was a fight, people say things. Me. Brittany, Madison issued an ultimatum she clearly expected me to fold on. I didn't. She's currently staying with you, so she's not on the street. She needs to retain legal counsel. Frances, Madison's mom, whose disappointment in Madison only marrying me has always been palpable. Bruce, this is an appalling way to treat your wife, after all the years she's given to making a home for you. What about her valuable possessions? Her designer bags? Her shoe collection is extensive. Priorities, right? Me. Frances, Madison will be able to retrieve her legally recognized personal property once her lawyer coordinates with Mr. Davies for a supervised date and time. Madison herself left a series of voicemails, a roller coaster of tearful pleading and furious indignation. Madison, Bruce, you monster! How could you be so cold? After everything I've done for us, I put my life on hold for you, and now you're trying to leave me destitute, and poor Evelyn. I was just overwrought about our finances. You know how I get. Of course, I care about her. You have to let me back in. My fret linens are still on the bed. Put her life on hold is rich, considering she chose not to work after our first year of marriage. The bank manager called me late last week. Madison had indeed tried to clear out the joint household account. Since I'd already formally notified the bank of the separation and the account was flagged, they informed her they couldn't process such a large withdrawal without my consent or a court order. She apparently made quite a scene, accusing them of siding with me and making vague threats about financial abuse. The manager just wanted to document everything. Mr. Davies was pleased. It adds to the picture. My mom, Evelyn, started her first round of treatment. It's early days, but she's a fighter, and not having Madison's negativity around is a small mercy for all of us. As of yesterday, Madison finally retained a lawyer, a Ms. Albright. Mr. Davies knows of her, aggressive, prone to over-the-top demands. True to form, Ms. Albright's initial letter arrived this morning. The demands: immediate, unfettered access to the marital home, still my house, owned pre-marriage. Spousal support of $12,000 a month to maintain her accustomed and necessary lifestyle. Full payment of her legal fees by me. A formal, written apology from me for the abrupt and unwarranted marital abandonment and resulting emotional distress. Mr. Davies had a wry smile reading it. Standard opening salvo. Let's craft a reality-based response. The fight is just beginning, but for the first time in a long time, I feel like I can breathe. Update 2. Alright folks, it's been a proper slog as expected. The entitlement didn't just knock, it tried to kick the door down. Miss Albright, Madison's lawyer, and Mr. Davies exchanged several increasingly pointed letters. The demand for 12-month spousal support was met with a detailed financial disclosure from my end as required, proof of the house being a premarital asset, and a counteroffer for very modest, time-limited rehabilitative alimony, contingent on Madison actively seeking employment and providing proof of such. This, predictably, did not go over well. Madison's next move was a low blow, even for her. My office manager, Diana, received a call. The caller, a woman who didn't give her name but sounded suspiciously like Brittany, claimed to be a concerned acquaintance and spun a wild tale about me being under immense personal stress, acting erratically, and making questionable financial decisions, implying I might be a liability. She didn't mention company funds directly, but hinted at poor judgment that could impact professional responsibilities. She likely got Diana's name in direct line from Madison, who knew Diana was my longtime trusted manager. Diana, thankfully, has known me for nearly 2 decades. She documented the call, informed HR as per protocol, and then told me. HR initiated a discreet internal review, mostly procedural, which involved checking access logs for any unusual activity and a brief, confidential discussion with me and my direct supervisor. It was stressful, but everything was found to be in order, and the matter was closed within a week. However, it was a clear attempt to destabilize my career. Mr. Davies was furious on my behalf and added it to our growing file of Madison's bad faith actions. Then came the much disputed retrieval of personal belongings. Miss Albright insisted. Mr. Davies agreed on the condition of a very specific limited time frame, supervised by a paralegal from his firm, Natalie, with me absent. He also had Natalie equipped with a body camera for documentation, a precaution that turned out to be invaluable. Madison arrived with Brittany and Frances in tow. According to Natalie's detailed report and the camera footage, which Mr. Davies later reviewed with a grim expression, they didn't just stick to packing Madison's extensive wardrobe and beauty products. Frances was seen trying to discreetly pocket a small, antique silver box belonging to my late grandmother from the guest room. Brittany loudly proclaimed that a set of my noise-canceling headphones were definitely a gift for Madison. Madison herself directed them to try and take several expensive art books I'd collected over years, and then the new 65-inch TV from the living room, insisting she chose it, so it's practically mine. Natalie, a calm but no-nonsense individual, had to repeatedly step in, reminding them of the terms of the retrieval and pointing to the list of disputed items. When they started to unplug the TV, Natalie firmly stated that if they attempted to remove items not clearly Madison's undisputed personal property, she would have to pause the retrieval and involve the police, per her instructions. There was a lot of muttering, glares, and dramatic sighs, but they backed down on the larger items. Natalie ensured the body cam captured Frances being told to leave the silver box. They left with an astonishing amount of clothing, shoes, makeup, and yes, the juicer. The revenge, or the unfolding of natural consequences, the bad faith tactics, and the attempted overreach during the retrieval significantly weakened Madison's position. The house, Mr. Davies used the premarital status and my sole contributions to its upkeep. He offered a nominal sum for any debatable increase in marital value. Ms. Albright postured, but when Mr. Davies indicated he was prepared to countersue for legal fees based on the slander attempt and the bad faith negotiation, her tone became more conciliatory. They accepted our modest offer. Spousal support, the slander attempt against my career, was a massive own goal. Mr. Davies argued it demonstrated Madison's willingness to actively sabotage my income rather than seek a fair settlement. The judge at a preliminary hearing for interim support was visibly unimpressed by this and Ms. Albright's continued high demands. Madison received a greatly reduced, very short-term rehabilitative alimony with a stern admonition from the judge about the necessity of becoming self-sufficient. The emotional distress claim, Mr. Davies had it dismissed summarily, citing Madison's own ultimatum and subsequent actions as the primary cause of any distress. The judge agreed. The retrieval incident, the body cam footage was gold. Mr. Davies sent a copy of the relevant clips and Natalie's report to Ms. Albright, along with a formal warning that any further attempts to claim or remove disputed property outside the legal process would be met with a civil suit for conversion and potentially a police report based on the documented attempted appropriations. This effectively shut down further arguments about forgotten items. The inheritance account. The $35,000 payment was from my clearly demarcated inheritance. Ms. Albright tried a weak argument about marital lifestyle being supported by all available funds, but without proof of significant commingling into a primary marital asset, it went nowhere. The divorce was finalized last week. Madison received her personal belongings, the small payout for the house value increase, and the court-ordered minimal, short-term support. She is responsible for her own sizable legal fees. The dream of the Wolf Range kitchen, funded by me, is officially dead. I heard through a mutual acquaintance that Brittany kicked Madison out after a few weeks, tired of her dramatics and refusal to contribute. Francis is likely enabling her to some extent, but is apparently also complaining to anyone who'll listen about how I fleeced poor Madison. The victim narrative is strong with that family. My mother, Evelyn, is responding as well as can be hoped to her treatments. The positive prognosis is a huge relief. Removing the constant stress and toxicity of my marriage has, without a doubt, improved my own well-being and ability to support her. Madison thought her ultimatum was a power move. She was so cocooned in her entitlement that she never conceived of a reality where I wouldn't capitulate. She didn't get a dramatic screaming match from me in the end. She got quiet, legally sound consequences. She wanted to leave. She's left with far less than she expected. And that, more than any loud confrontation, feels like justice. The air in my house is cleaner. I'm finally moving forward.